Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. This is the show, and I'm going to do it where you get under the hat of all things franchising. And it's a live show. Well, it's live if it's 5:15 on the 30th of June. And because it's live, we love you to get involved. So please pop in a comment, say hello, get involved in our conversations. Because, and I say this every week, you are the producers and the directors of this show. And our conversations go the way you wish it to go. So please get involved in our conversations, say hello, and be part of this fantastic community. So what do we do each week on the Franchise Show? We take a new topic and a lovely guest. This week, two lovely guests. And we have a bit of a deep dive into that topic. And we really encourage you to get involved in these conversations. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about franchise area developers. What are they? What do they do? How can they influence and improve your business? So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our fantastic guests today. We have Dawn Catherall and Damian Bennett, both from Zambrero. So the two of you, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us on. It's an honour.
You're absolutely
I feel
welcome.
like I should have a hat on.
Well, I've got a few. You can have a borrow. Well, it's fantastic to have you both on. Look, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a little introduction from both of you so that the people watching can get an understanding of your sort of journeys and how you've got to be area developers for Zambrero. So let's go ladies first on that. So if you just like to give yourself a little introduction, Dawn, that would be fantastic.
Okay, well, as Harvey said, Damian and I are currently development agents. We call it development agents rather than area developers, but it's the same thing. We're development agents for Zambrero, being in the franchising business for 30 years or so. I imagine you're thinking, how can she do that when she's only 21? But obviously, I am fooling myself if I think that is the case. So yeah, we developed a well-known brand for the last
you can say who it is.
It is the word Subway, but we developed that brand within Greater Manchester and West Yorkshire. From 2001, I first started there, and then after that we went into Zambrero. So for those of you who don't know, Zambrero is a QSR that's a Mexican. So it's Mexican fusion food, but it's a QSR with a mission. So I'll just do a bit of a deep dive on that just so that everybody knows what we're representing. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but one of the main reasons we became development agents for Zambrero was the mission that for every burrito or bowl sold, they've got this plate for plate, which gives a meal to people in need. So I think I looked at the counter earlier and we're just close to 108 million meals that have been donated over the last 20 years within QSR, within the Zambrero community. So that's where we are. That's where we are at the moment, is with Zambrero, but I'll let Damian now take over.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for that introduction. And may I say, delicious as well. I had the pleasure of sampling a few dishes when I was up in Manchester. So thanks.
I am not going to argue with you on that. And I think I say one of the main things, but you've also got to love the brand. You've got to love the food. And I absolutely love the food. As I constantly say, this wasn't a body that was built on lettuce. It's certainly a body that's been built on sampling products within our restaurants.
Absolutely fantastic. And the same for you, Damian, as well. What's sort of been your journey to get to this point in Zambrero?
Good evening, Harvey. Good evening to all your community listening in. My background, I've left university with a degree in biochemistry. I then qualified as a chartered accountant with Coopers and Lybrand, as it was back then. Moved into industry, initially into manufacturing with a large organization called Pilkington Glass. I then moved into retailing, from where I have never escaped. So initially it was licensed retailing with Greenhills pubs and restaurants in finance roles there, then into licensed wholesaling. Then I moved into financial services within an online catalog retailer, before I then joined a company called Made to Order that was a Subway franchisee and development agent. I became a development agent in 2012, and stayed with the Subway brand right through until October of 2024, July when we left as development agents, or October when we left as franchise partners. And then, I was fortunate to get hooked up with Zambrero a couple of months later. I then dragged Dawn along for the ride, and we became development agents with Zambrero round about 10, 12 months ago, something like that. So that's how we've ended up here to today. So kind of back on the horse, starting out again, which is very exciting, particularly with a fantastic brand like Zambrero. As Dawn said, Zambrero has this mission to end world hunger, and the vehicle for doing that is through the Zambrero, through our Zambrero restaurants, and through our customers buying burritos and bowls. So. Yes.
No, I love it. Great introduction. And, and I like that mission. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And, this is part of the reason that you've become, and I'm going to use the correct expression now, development agents.
Call us what you want.
Brand, because you believe in it. But before we get into what a development agent is, and how we can use development agents in our businesses in the franchise industry, I'd like to do a couple of things. First of all, we want to welcome a few people who have joined us already here live, and I'd like to introduce a new supporter to the show, which is Zapid. And we will be having an episode all about lovely people in our businesses, featuring Zapid and a fantastic guest. So welcome to the Franchise Show. So let's get on and welcome a few people who have joined already. We have the lovely Simon Wise. Simon is a fantastic recruiter in the franchise space here in the UK. And he is a big supporter of our show. Always appreciate him getting involved. And he's put hello, franchise friends. Well, hello to you. We've got the lovely Penny Hopkinson. And Penny has said hello, Harvey, Dawn and Damian, and our great franchise community, just back to connectivity after a 20-hour power cut. Oh, no.
Oh, dear,
well, good
Penny.
to have you back. Have to keep pedaling. Penny, keep pedaling. Penny is the author of a wonderful book and helps people with their ops manuals in franchising. I have the lovely book. I always show it. I always have. But do I get it the right way round? I don't know. No, I didn't. Oh, well. Now, if you want to get your ops manuals the right way round, then talk to Penny. I came up with that.
And pay for them in 50p pieces so she can keep putting them in a meter.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Who else have we got? We've got the lovely Johnny Joseph dialing in all the way from Los Angeles. He's put hello, franchise fans. Ooh, I like that. There you go. From a fabulous, fun World Cup location, of course. He's coming live from where the World Cup is happening at the moment. And Worldwide Franchise Royalty Auditing Headquarters in Los Angeles. Went to my first game on Sunday, but South Africa lost. I'm so sorry. Johnny is based in Los Angeles, but is originally from South Africa. So he's obviously sad about that. Great to have you with us, Johnny. As he's put there, he's a franchisee royalty specialist. So it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on development agents. Of course, in the US, development agents are more commonplace than perhaps they are here in the UK. So we've got a few more people before we get into this topic today. We have the lovely Lisa Feverick with us. Lisa is often on our show. She helps women who are going through the menopause with dietary advice. So great to have you with us, Lisa. We've got Johnny coming back with West Yorkshire. Can we say Leeds? I'm a huge Leeds United fan. I don't know how
Johnny, no. I've got to do Leeds, because that's what you're meant to do. But seriously, Johnny, I'm a Burnley fan. So Leeds and Burnley, no.
Oh, well, some friendly competition there, I think. We have got Matthew with us. Matthew's put franchise friends. Great to have you with us, Matthew. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And lastly, let's welcome Jay Heathcote to the show. Johnny Joseph, not quite, in response to Leeds and West Yorkshire.
It's Wakefield where Jay is. Definitely Wakefield where Jay is. We know Jay. Hi, Jay.
So Jay's put, I'm listening in, Harvey, Dawn and Damian. Well, great to have you with us, Jay. You're always a great contributor towards the show, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts on all things development agents. Going to be exciting. So let's get into this. We've got a question coming up from Simon, which we're definitely going to put in. But before we get to that, I'd like to start off with something relatively basic here, because there's going to be some people that are listening in that will know all about development agents and where they fit into a business. There's also going to be some people that don't. So let's start with a bit of a description. What is a development agent?
Okay, well, Dawn will cover that off. I just wanted to say at the outset, just when you look at franchisors' opportunities to develop their brands, they've kind of got a couple of different ways of doing it. You know, the franchisor can deal directly with the franchisee. The franchisor, master franchise, can put a master franchise in place. The franchisor can work with development agents to work with franchise partners, or a franchisor could operate all three different models in different parts of the world. So in the UK, Zambrero is operating with the area developer model, the development agent model. And, you know, there's kind of pros and cons to each avenue, really. And I saw the question in the chat earlier about the difference between a master franchisee and a development agent. We can come on to cover that when you wish, Harvey. But, you know, maybe in the first instance, Dawn can just give a quick run through of the development agent role.
Definitely, absolutely. And you're right, there are those different things. And I think that's going to be naturally the next thing that we're going to get to. What are the differences between these things? But Dawn, yeah, if you can give us a description as to what the development agent is, you know, how that model works, you know, how does a franchisor instruct a development agent, and what happens in that process?
I suppose the first thing that a franchisor would do is look at the country that they're looking at, and look at the sections of the country as to how they want to divide that up. So it's a bit arbitrary, really. So as I said previously, we are Greater Manchester and West Yorkshire, we're the development agents for that area. And there'd be different developers in each area who had local expertise in those areas. So I think most people, when they think of development agents, they think that development agents are franchise salespeople. But that couldn't be further from the truth if you tried, because our role really is an extension to the brand. We're the link between the brand and the franchisees. So we bridge that gap. Our role is not to sell franchises, it's to open stores. And it's not to open stores, it's to open successful stores. So I suppose it's all the steps between that, because I suppose one of the criticisms of development agents is that they come in and they're financially targeted to open stores. But that is far from the case. What we're trying to do is open successful stores, because if we open a volume of stores and if we open 100 stores, for example, and only 30 of those stay open, that's not a successful development agent. So our role is to find the franchisees, find the locations, put those two together. But then our role really does start once the franchise store is open. But before that, we've obviously got to design the store. We've got to get all the equipment in, get that store opened, assist with the training. And then once that store opens, we are basically the business partner to that franchisee, helping them to develop their business. So I suppose it's everything from identifying franchisees right through to opening stores. And then the relationship really does grow from there, because we want to help those franchisees be successful in their business. Because franchising isn't about growing. It's making sure that those franchisees are profitable so that they can grow in the business. Mm-hmm. Damian, have you got anything to add?
I think it's really interesting there you were saying about the profitability, because it's so important. It's so important that the franchise model works on a sort of unit level economics way, that each site is making money, because that's how you'll get happy, successful franchisees. We have got some questions. I really want to get to those. And I think it's going to be good. Let's bring some questions in, because I think we're going to get into this conversation in that way. So let's have a little look at what we've got here. Let's bring Simon's up. Simon put, what is the difference between a development agent and a master franchisee? Now, it's a great question, and we've delved a little bit into this. But let's take this from the perspective of a franchisor that's looking at doing either of these things, right? So if you're a franchisor and you're looking at putting a master franchisee in place, you're going to charge that master franchise a fee for the master franchise. And then that master franchise is going to be able to find, their own franchisees within that region. Or it can change, but that's often how that works. So perhaps one of you could let us know the difference in terms of the sort of, not quite the details of the financials, but the mechanics and the commercial model of how that might work for a franchisor.
Yeah, so if you look at Zambrero and its development in Ireland, it's expanded in the Republic of Ireland by using the master franchise model for a couple of sensible reasons. Firstly, the country isn't enormous and the population isn't enormous. For instance, the population of the Republic of Ireland is similar to the population of our territory. So you wouldn't want to be carving Ireland up into, the individual provinces. There just wouldn't be the critical mass there. And the difference between what the master franchisees do in Ireland and what we do as development agents in the UK is, at its very simple level, they're responsible for the supply chain in Ireland. They're more sort of independent, responsible for their marketing in Ireland. But beyond that, it's a similar job. They recruit good franchise partners, they find good locations, they put the two together. And in an island where Zambrero started in 2015, they've got a fantastic bunch of franchisees, a mixture of single unit owners, multi-unit owners, and also some corporate partners that they've taken on board. And as I say, they manage the supply chain, they manage the marketing. Whereas for us as development agents in the UK, we're solely responsible for finding the locations, finding the franchise partners, and like Ireland, supporting them through their journey as franchise partners, helping them, grow and develop their businesses.
You said there that you're responsible for finding locations and franchise partners. Both of those elements are time consuming and have a cost attached to them. I'm going to bring up a question here from Simon, because it brings this whole thing together so that people can kind of understand this model if they were looking to be an area developer or if they were looking to bring in a development agent. I keep saying the wrong thing there, but forgive me.
It's fine.
Interchangeable.
Yeah, that's it. So as an area developer, if you've got to go out and find a franchisee and you've got to put an advert on a portal, are you paid as an employee? Is it a commission thing normally?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Let me correct that statement I made earlier, because collectively with the brand, with the franchisor, we are recruiting franchise partners. So the franchisor is making a considerable investment across multiple channels to attract franchise partners into the business. Those leads are then passed on to us, depending upon the geographical location of the of this particular potential franchise partner. Just in terms of the financials, typical with every franchise business, the franchise partner pays a royalty commission to the franchisor, and in the case of Zambrero, where there is a development agent model, Zambrero reinvests some of that franchise fee into the development agents. So that gives us an income stream as and when we get stores open and trading.
Okay, get it right. So you're fed the lead, and once you've got a store, not just once you've signed up a franchisee, but once you've got a store open, running, profitable, that's where a development agent is getting their reward. And from a franchisor's point of view, are there any other costs for them to get some amazing people like yourselves with expert local knowledge? Is there sort of an upfront fee that generally is applied, or are you working on that success fee sort of basis? Is that pretty much standard?
There is a franchise fee. So any potential franchise partner would pay a franchise fee. With Zambrero, we're structured to, so that we've got the ability to sell a single franchise, to do a 3-store deal with a franchise partner, or to do a 5-store deal with a franchise partner. And obviously, if you take the 5-store deal, the average price of your franchise fee is a lot lower than if you just buy the single franchise fee, as you can imagine. And a portion of that franchise fee is shared with us as developers, at the outset. So there's that initial element, and then there's the
but again, you're
share.
only getting a share of that franchise fee when a franchisee decides, and when the right partner is found, and they decide to then sign and pay a franchise fee.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get to here is, if I'm a franchisor and I'm thinking, right, I want to bring in some experts here, as a franchisor, have I got any upfront costs to bring the development agents in, and for them to, apart from, there are costs obviously to go on portals and to start advertising, to bring people in, maybe to go on sites to bring the right properties to the business as well. They're doing all of that work. They've got to have the facilities for you to be able to show a potential franchisee what the business is like, all of these things. But in terms of at the beginning, when you join, do they pay, whether it's Zambrero, whether it's another brand, would a franchisor have to, sort of make that investment, or is it more of a sort of partnership, and you only kind of get a payment at that point?
Yeah, it is more of a partnership, and in fact, talking about franchisor investment, Zambrero have gone above and beyond in terms of their, investment in the brand in the UK. They opened the first 13 stores in the UK. Okay. So, they've taken all that, learning pain and learning cost, and they've built out those first 13 stores. And that was one of the things that really attracted us to work with Zambrero, was that they themselves understand what it's like to be a franchise partner and what it's like to operate stores, and that gives us the confidence that all the decisions down the line the brand will make will be with the franchisee in mind, because they understand the implications of a decision they make on the coalface of operating a store. So they made a huge investment in opening those first 13 stores, proving the business model, then bringing in the then bringing in the development agents, and then we are now starting to bring in those franchise partners. So our job has been made easier as development agents because of all that work that and investment that Zambrero has made up front in the brand.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's really interesting because you have made a decision a bit like a franchisee makes a decision on a brand. You've taken this brand, you've looked at the brand with your experience of Subway in the past. You've looked at the brand, you've looked at the potential, you've looked at what they're doing. You're doing your own due diligence, just like a franchisee would, to then decide whether you're going to take that path and represent them as a development agent. I think it's very interesting. We've got a few more great comments coming up here, and we've got a couple more people to welcome to the show. I'm going to bring up this final. I want to welcome everyone. Let's welcome Morris Marchetti. Oh, it's great to have you with us, Morris. Actually, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on development agents as well. Please pop in a comment. We've gone a lot down the financial model here, and I think it's quite important actually because it offers the sort of the structure, the foundation of what an area developer and a development agent is. It tells people kind of what that is. I think franchisors in the UK understand the financials of a master franchise. They certainly understand the financials of bringing a franchisee on board. But let's bring up this one here. And again, we're not going into what happens at a particular organization, but generally speaking, do you have to pay a license fee to become an area developer or development agent?
I think it's pretty standard these days that that the topic of a license fee comes up when you speak with the franchisor. That's something that they will be seeking. So yes, that can happen.
I think it's an interesting one. I mean, look, we don't need to sort of say whether it's really yes or no now, but it's interesting to know it can be part of that conversation. Because as a franchisor, if you're looking to do that, you could think, okay, well, we can potentially apply a license fee here for the right development agent, and the right development agent can obviously look at that opportunity and decide whether it's worth paying that fee. It's really interesting to get under all of these things. Let's have a look. We've got a few more comments, but before we get to the
just on that point, Harvey, I think it's really important to say that the development agent model only works when three things align, and that's the right brand, the right development agent, and the right franchise partners, along with the right franchisor. So if any of those dip somewhere, then there's issues. So
I think that's a really good point. In fact, I'm writing that down. I start with nothing written down, but I end with lots of things written down.
I think for ages, I've not written anything of mine down, and then Dawn chips in and you write us down. Bloody hell.
You were saying
right, I'm done.
Damien and I, just for anybody who we haven't really said, but Damien and I have been working with each other for the last 20 years or so. So Damien is my work husband, and I get on with him as much as I get on with my real husband, and that's all I will say.
I don't get bossed around as much though, thankfully.
Yeah.
Excellent, good stuff. Well, look, let's bring up a few more comments. Johnny has come back with marching on together as always. Dawn, we're going
go
back
Johnny.
To the football there. Let's bring up the fact that we have the legend that is Joe Caruso with us now. This has become a weekly thing that Joe will always try and get me to pronounce where he comes from. I refuse to Google it. I just like to receive a score, judge by that, and give it a go the week after when I've forgotten. Anyway, Here we go. Hi, all from high above the sunny and sweltering hot shores of I'm joking. Havre de Grace, Maryland, at the Susquehanna River and the Chesapeake Bay. At Franchise Info LLC HQ for retained franchisor advisory and franchisee recruitment gateway for you EU brands to come to America. Joe, looking forward to seeing my score. Last week, I believe I got an 8.1. So let's see how I do this week. It's strange how that's become a thing, but it is now a thing. Let's have a look. Let's go to this comment here, see what Simon's got to say. By using a development agent, aren't you introducing another layer of cost for the franchisee in a market where margins are already under pressure from rising labor costs and operating expenses? Look, costs are really important here, right? But like you said, you are, and there's often somebody in the audience here, a lady called Leslie, and she's got a show based on the book Think and Grow Rich. And there was an element of that book, which is 100 years old now, but there was an element in this book where it was about seeking expert advice when someone was 3 foot from gold. And it sort of reminds me on this that development agents are experts. They're local experts. And every franchisee wants to be successful. And being financially successful as a franchisee, your numbers have got to work. And if you've got somebody with local knowledge that can tell you, don't go on that side of the road, go on this side of the road and 100 yards up. And suddenly that's going to make a difference of 30% in your takings. And, you know, and with our experience in Subway, we can do this to help you on your P&O. How do you take this question?
I suppose okay. Damian, can I go? Or are you okay?
Well, Harvey will write it down, so you go first.
Yeah, I'm going to say a soundbite now. I think the important thing to say on this is that you're not paying any extra for a development agent because you're paying a royalty fee, and generally a development agent will get a proportion of that royalty fee. So if you take a franchise system that doesn't have a development agent system and you're paying, say, 8% royalty, what will happen then is you will get the support of that franchisor. If you're paying 8% royalty, but you also have the support of a franchisor, and like you said, Harvey, a dedicated local team, then you're actually getting 2 for 1. So actually, rather than being an extra cost to the business, it's more value to the franchisee, because they have somebody in their local area who knows them. They're a direct contact. You know, if something happens in a store in our territory, I'm within an hour's drive maximum of the furthest store away from my house. But you're getting all the local knowledge, and in order for the development agent teams to succeed, they have to build teams around them. So, you know, it wouldn't just be me and Damian. We have a team as well of business consultants who would also be the link. So rather than just having the franchisor, you've got the development agent and you've got the development agent team as well.
That's interesting. A couple of things I want to pick up on there. The team that's around you, is that typical that's with a development agent? Is that typical that it is consultants, or is that typical that it's an employed team, or would that depend on the situation?
They will be an employed. They are an employed team.
Okay.
Yeah. So the job title doesn't mean they're independent contractors.
No.
It's just the job title they've got as employees of the development agent office.
Understand.
I mean, we obviously have other contacts as well who are not employees, like our agents, our location agents, our solicitors, you know, the contractors that we've worked with for many, many years. So we're not only bringing the knowledge of the area, we're also bringing a wealth of contacts that we have within that area as well to help the franchisees open their first store and keep those stores running successfully as well.
Absolutely. No, fantastic. I mean,
sorry, Harvey.
Oh, all I was going to say there, I just wanted to recap on what Simon just said there, because I think this is really important, actually, that the development agent principle of costs comes not out of a franchisee's pocket, but out of a franchisor's pocket. They have chosen to share some of their royalty, and they're not increasing the royalty. If it's 8%, they might be giving a development agent a share of that. But from a franchisee's perspective, they are getting they're getting in arguably a better service, but they're not paying extra for a development agent. No. The franchisor is sharing a little bit more of, they're sharing some of their royalty, with you. So yeah, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and for the record, Zambrero's franchise fee is less than 8%. So, but yeah, no. To further on from what Dawn has said, it is, and what you've just said, it is that reinvestment by the franchisor into the development agent, and what. On top of that, because we are development agents and we have a long-term contract with the franchisor, we are going to be a constant in the franchisee's journey. Where you have the sort of the franchisor direct to franchisee model, the franchisor will have employees, and as we know from many organizations, employees come and go, and that can disrupt the relationship the franchisee has with the franchisor if that representative of the franchisor has moved off to go and work elsewhere. So there's a lot of value in us building that long-term relationship with the franchisee. And additionally, not to throw another spanner in the works, but because Dawn and I are also franchise partners in Zambrero as well as development agents, we've got skin in the game. So we are in the trenches with the franchise partner. What affects them affects us, and as I mentioned earlier, Zambrero and operate stores as well affects them. So all the decisions that get made by the franchisor are all to drive franchisee profitability.
I think that's really interesting. And I was going to get on to the fact that you are also franchisees, because I think this is a really important part of the conversation. Before we do that, we're going to do that in the last 5 minutes, I think. But sure. Before we do that, you mentioned there, and I think this is really valid, actually, because if you've got a good franchise support employee network, right? So you're a franchisor, you've got some support managers, you've got some development managers, like you say, they come and go for different reasons. Okay, and they may stay for a long time. Typically, what is the length of a contract for a development agent? What sort of commitment would you have to give typically to be a development agent?
I mean, you're talking many years.
Is it 5, 10 years, similar to sort of a franchisee?
Typically, yeah, it's vaguely aligned with the length of the franchise agreement. With renew, it has options to renew it. I say we were development agents with Subway for over 20 years. So that's the sort of length of relationship you'd be looking to sustain with the franchisor.
Fantastic. Right, we are coming towards the last 5 minutes. We've got a couple of other questions which I definitely want to bring in. If you have just joined us, this is the Franchise Show. Today we are talking about development agents, what they are, how you can involve them in your business, how you can become one, and what they do. And it's been a fascinating conversation so far, so please get involved in our conversation. So let's bring up a comment here from there's my score. Hold on. Harvey Tuck, bit touch and go at the outset. Nice recovery, lifted you to an 8.0. Not bad.
Oh, you've gone down, Harvey. If it was 8.2 last week, that is not good. You need to keep going.
I think that was hard, though. That was really hard. I thought it was cheapskate day. I didn't realise it was.
Damien, he gets every week to try it, and he keeps getting it wrong. So don't give him the out.
Every single week, I finish doing this, and then I forget that I've done it. And the next time I remember how to pronounce it is when the comment comes up. So it continues to be good fun. So there you go. Let's welcome the lovely Julie Waits to the show. She's put hello, everyone. Good evening from the sunny north east of England. Always good to have Julie with us. She does something called First Fridays. It's a fantastic resource for our franchise businesses, so please join that. We've got 3 good questions here from Simon. We're going to try and bring these up, and then we're going to try and end, I think, with talking about you being, and I think this is a good segue into that anyway. So let's have a look at this one first. Simon's put, who does the franchisee sign the franchise agreement with? The area developer, a development agent, or the master franchisor? It's a good question. How does that generally work?
The legal relationship is between the franchisor and the franchisee. And then separately, the development agent has a legal relationship with the franchisor. So the development agent and the franchisee are not sort of legally bound to one another.
I completely understand. Okay. So yeah, no, I completely understand. It's really interesting because there's, in franchising, we have, support managers. We've now got development agents, we've got brokers, we've got consultants, we've got, there's all these different terms. And today's a really useful one to really unpick what a development agent is and how that works. So I love that. Let's have a look. We've got a few more comments coming up here. And let's have a look at this one from Simon. Right, look, this is now bringing us into this subject. So you both mentioned that you were impressed with Zambrero because they had invested substantially in their own outlets prior to franchising their organization. Obviously, they're very big in Australia as well. We all know that as well. Is it, can you be a development agent without being a franchisee? How did that come about with you being franchisees, and were you franchisees at Subway as well? Is that typical and commonplace?
It is commonplace because I don't think you can really understand how a franchise system works unless you walk in their shoes. We've learned more in the last 12 weeks of being franchise partners than we have in the entire time we've been with Zambrero as development agents. So running our own stores gives us an insight that will only help to strengthen the advice and help we can give to our franchise partners. The other thing it allows us to do, though, is have centres of excellence. So that is where we will be able to train our franchise partners to make sure that all the brand standards are trained correctly. So that's, it's twofold really, in that it keeps us on our toes, knowing what's coming down the brand, how we can help influence things that are going to help franchise partners in the future, but also giving us that centre of excellence where we're able to say this is how a restaurant should be run.
No, absolutely. I think that's really interesting. And we've got a few more comments. What time have we got now? I think we've got about 2.5 minutes left. So we're going to bring up a couple more comments. Your school is cruel but fair. Fair enough. Joe's put in a couple of big comments here. I'll start to read a couple of these, but with a couple of minutes left, we'll probably just put them up, have a little bit of a read of them. What I will say is all of these comments are on LinkedIn, and you can look at them, you can respond. You can also continue this conversation because I will still see these comments. Dawn and Damian will still see these comments, and the conversation will continue. One point worth adding from a US compliance perspective, that is, these terms are not interchangeable under the FTC franchise rule and state franchise laws. An area developer is generally a multi-unit franchisee who develops and operates their own locations, but does not sell or grant franchises. A development agent, sometimes called an area representative, recruits and supports franchisees on behalf of the franchisor, but does not become the franchisor, a master franchisee. By contrast, typically has the authority to grant sub-franchisees Fantastic. I mean, look, it's really interesting. Joe speaks from a US perspective and comes with a lot of information and credibility. I would always encourage you to connect with Joe. If you're looking at doing franchising in the US, please connect with Joe. And always his comments add such value, and they're normally the subject to of an entire episode on this. So it's fantastic. So look, we've got a minute or two left until we get to the last part of today's show. So I think I'd like to sort of conclude with your sort of thoughts about, one of you can take this, your thoughts about the future of area development in the UK and how we can encourage this as a route for our franchisors. So perhaps one of you'd like to take that as a point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've highlighted some of the benefits of using the area developer model. Clearly, the downside for a franchisor is that they have to share their royalty revenue with another party. But as I say, pros and cons to all the various different ways of operating. But I kind of see where the area developer model is really strong. It's a bit like going back to Johnny and football. If you imagine in a country, the area developers are the football players and the franchisor is the manager. If you've got a load of players without a good manager, then they're not going to perform that well on the pitch. But where you've got a good team of players on the pitch, they're all good footballers, but they're all complementary. You've got people that play up front, people in goal, people in defence. And then you've got a good manager who keeps them, focused on, delivering on the pitch week in, week out. Then that builds a really, really strong team, and we've got, really strong leadership from the franchisor, from Emily, who's the CEO, right through to Daryl, who's the Australian CEO, right through to Dr. Sam Prince, who is the founder of Zambrero. They provide enormous amount of support, direction to us, but also are very, very open to listening to what we see and what we've experienced to help make the Zambrero brand better. So I think in those kind of footballing parlances, area developing, works really, really well when you've got a great team and a great manager.
I love it. I think that's a great way to end the first part of today's show. It's clear that this has really resonated with our audience today. It's a really interesting subject. I'd like to thank everyone for getting involved in our conversation today. That you are really what makes this show special, because this conversation is together. We are talking together on this. And genuinely, we don't write anything down. We don't have pre-planned questions.
And we're happy to come back and talk again.
I think we might need to. Because it's clearly something that resonates. So we're definitely going to do an area development. I'm going to get it right. In fact, next time we do it, it's development agents, and I'm going to get it right. But look, I think that's part of the reason why we're doing it, and that's a great analogy. I love that. So look, I'd like to thank everyone for being with us today, and it's been fantastic to have, of course, Dawn and Damian with us. We are now going to go, of course, to the last part of our show. Now, this is the part of the show where my screen will go black for a little bit, and that's not because I've broken something. It's because you're not allowed to see me. Oh, God, I've done it again. You saw me without a hat. Oh, well, there you go. That's the top of my head, everyone. But this is the part of the show that's brought to you by my lovely friend, Paul Murphy. And he used to work for a franchise brand, and he's a hatter, and he made me a lovely hat. So I want to support him. So if you want a hat,
like a Guy Fawkes hat, that one.
Yeah, it is a bit, isn't it? Yeah. Watch out,
it's
Parliament.
Yeah.
Oh no, I might be in the tower. Shouldn't say anything like that.
Yeah.
But look, this is the part of the show where we stop talking about franchising for a little bit, and we find out a little bit about our guests. So I always have a little bit of a fun question. It's generally if you've met anyone famous, a claim to fame, or an unusual hobby. It's also the part of the show where you get to ask me anything you like. So before you do that, let's go to Damian first. And yeah, have you met anyone famous or a claim to fame? Strange hobby?
No, my life's very boring. The most exciting thing I've ever done. Well, not the most exciting thing I've ever done. The most famous person I've ever seen, I didn't really introduce myself to them, was Hugh Grant in a restaurant in Knightsbridge a couple of years ago. I think he's kind of notorious for being unapproachable. So I didn't go over and get my head bitten off, but it was quite exciting to see him. But, you know, I have to play second fiddle to Dawn, really, because, you know, her claim to fame is second to none, really.
Well, that's why I thought I'd go you first. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's still good. Hugh Grant's still good. It's still good.
Yeah, Hugh Grant is good, but you didn't have the physical contact, which I nearly got arrested. Oh, sorry, my beagle has just appeared on the screen there. Apologies, everybody. I nearly got arrested. Well, when I tell this story as well, yeah, Rob Lowe is mine, and I'm going to show my age now, but he was my ultimate crush when I was 16. And I was once in LA and saw him. And in the end, after about 15 minutes of hanging on to him, telling him how much I loved him, his bouncer did have to prize me off him. So I went upstairs to my hotel room, got changed into another outfit and came back down again just to see if they wouldn't recognize me. And I could go and see him again. So that is mine, I'm afraid.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, I promised you could get your own back on me as well, because you've both answered these questions beautifully today, and it's been a fantastic conversation. So you don't have to do this. You can let me get away with it. But this is now the point where you can ask me anything you like. And genuinely, I don't know what it's going to be. So now's the time.
Well, Harvey,
okay,
we'll put you on the spot. Who is the best guest you have ever had on your shows?
Oh, that's a good question for me to
let's see how diplomatic you can be.
Stroke my beard and become awkward when I talk about it. And I'm going to be diplomatic about this because, number one, I don't think I can remember everybody offhand that's been on this over the last 3-4 years. And to me, I don't know, they're like chapters of a book that I haven't put down yet and isn't finished. And I think everyone that comes on, I'm always a firm believer that everyone has a story to tell. And it's why I love doing this and hearing people's stories. And so everyone I don't think I've ever had anyone that's come on that hasn't given me something that I've written down that I think, wow, that's interesting. So I know this feels like I'm sitting on the fence and not saying who is my favorite guest, but all of them, because they've all contributed towards that story. So I've enjoyed every one, including this. And you've also added a chapter to the franchise show story. So we are going to end at this point. So I would like to thank everyone who has been with us live and for your contributions to the show. It really is what makes it special. I'd like to thank our fantastic guests, Damian and Dawn. Thank you both for being on the franchise show today.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Thanks for having us, Harvey. We love your work.
Thank you.
And we know you were your favourites, really.
Cool. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should say, well, obviously you. And then I'll just say that was you. Well, it just leaves me to say we will be back next Tuesday. So please join us 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST for another fascinating franchise conversation. And until next time, my friends,